Hello, everybody. Tony Gerdeman here from BuckeyeHuddle.com and the Buckeye Weekly Podcast, back with another edition of how in the heck is Ohio State going to replace this guy? And doing a series discussing how Ohio State is going to replace their departed starters, of which there are 8 each on each side of the ball, 8 on offense, 8 on defense. I won't be doing a series on every single one of those guys. I'll be packaging JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer together, Josh Simmons and Josh Fryer together, that sort of thing. So the ends and the tackles, they will be together. I will be talking today about Lathan Ransom, Ohio State strong safety. Lathan Ransom, one of just 5 Ohio State Buckeyes in school history who were 5-year letter winners, thanks to COVID and things of that nature, and also the ability to play a few games and still maintain the your red shirt. But Lathan Ransom, 3-year starter for the Buckeyes, was a contributor all 5 years, was a guy that came in the 2020 year, his freshman year, and Ryan Day could not say enough good things about this guy. High level understanding of football, made plays, was around the ball, just exactly the kind of player a coach loves to have, and just an advanced player. And you saw that a little bit as a true freshman. And then, his sophomore year, he started 4 games and was part of the rotation and was, a guy that you could see was going to be something pretty good. And he's had his ups and downs. He's battled for jobs. He's dealt with injuries, that's for sure. Um, Broken leg in the Rose Bowl, and still managed to get back in time for the season opener the next year. So a guy that is, one, a fast healer, but also really, really driven and really just wants to be part of the defense and help everybody out and do his job and play the game. And he played it at a high level. He was an honorable mention All Big Ten selection in 22 and 23 as a starter. And then this past season, his 5th at Ohio State, finished 4th on the team with 76 tackles. He was 5th in tackles for loss. He had 9 tackles for loss, which is the most for an Ohio State defensive back since 2006, when cornerback Antonio Smith had 10. So that gives you an idea of where a lot of his plays were made. And he also tied for first on the team with 3 forced fumbles, and maybe tied for first or led the way with just impact plays in the playoffs in terms of actual impact and collision force, that sort of thing, like the physics aspect of it. He was pretty big with. And so, that's their strong safety. And now, he's going away and he's off to the NFL. So who's going to replace him? And when you look at the candidates, one of the candidates is Caleb Downs, who played free safety, but also was around the ball and played closer to the line of scrimmage like a typical strong safety does. So how are they going to use Caleb Downs? And they'll still have to figure that out. And can they do the same thing they did last year, when the nickelback is going to be different? We'll talk about the nickelback in another show, because that's going to be a significant situation. And then whoever replaces Lathan Ransom, can they do what Lathan Ransom did that allowed Caleb Downs to play more almost like a linebacker at times, or just like, in terms of a free safety, he was, really free, like almost too free, and go do what you want type of thing. Go get the football. So can the next guy do that? And when you're looking, if we're going to keep Caleb Downs doing what he did last year, you're looking at Jaylen McClain, who actually won the job as Lathan Ransom's backup last year as a true freshman. So he's coming into this season. He actually started a game last year for Ransom when Ransom was out with an injury. So this is a guy who was a true freshman last year, a sophomore this year. He's one of the guys. Malik Hartford is going to be a junior this year. He came in and started a couple of games as a true freshman at safety, and he was Caleb Downs' backup at free safety last year. Is a bigger kid, 6'3", like 200 pounds, can play either safety spot. So that's a guy to keep an eye on. Keenan Nelson, who transferred in last year from South Carolina and He's got to played a lot of defense his first 2 years in South Carolina, did not play any defense last year for Ohio State. He was special teams only. So that's an interesting situation where it's like if he couldn't get on the field last year, what kind of expectation should he have for winning a job this year and being able to replace Lathan Ransom? So that's certainly a guy to keep in mind, but the playing time aspect is, questionable at this point. Leroy Roker was a true freshman last year. He only played in a couple of games, and both of those games were just special teams, so he's still growing. He was a June enrollee, which put him behind everybody, basically. And then you've got 3 true freshmen coming into this recruiting class: Fahim Delane, Cody Haddad, and Deshaun Stewart. And they're all different players. But if you're looking for one of them to kind of blossom, maybe keep an eye on Fahim Delane. So that's what you're dealing with in terms of the candidates. And this spring, everybody's going to be involved. They're all going to be out there. What will be interesting is Caleb Downs probably won't be out there much because there's no reason for him to be out there. Not that he needs to go on vacation or anything, but they're going to want to get everybody else some reps. And you could probably expect to see Malik Hartford and Jaylen McClain through most of the spring handling those 2 safety positions, which kind of takes Malik Hartford out of the running, I would assume, as the strong safety. But again, these safety positions have to be somewhat interchangeable because they do have to shift when receivers shift at times. So that's something that if you can play one, you kind of have to play the other as well at times. And so those 2 guys will be competing or playing next to each other. Jaylen McClain will be the guy that's leading the pack in the spring, can almost guarantee that. And in fact, he's your best bet right now to be replacing Lathan Ransom. And when I've talked to Jaylen McClain and the lead up to one of the bowl games, and he could not say enough about the opportunity to learn from Lathan Ransom and Caleb Downs. Like, this is a freshman's dream to come in and learn from what I would consider the best safety duo in Ohio State football history. That's a pretty good gig for a true freshman, but not just any true freshman, a true freshman who's going to sit down and take it all very seriously and take it in and then be able to put it back out on the field. So this was a huge opportunity for him to learn from 2 of the best. And I would expect that he's going to put it to good use. And talking with Matt Guerreri, safeties coach, about him recently, he talked about just how serious that Jaylen McClain is and how seriously he takes stuff. And, he needed to get bigger as a true freshman. And so one of the things they did was have him like consuming enough calories, and it would start with breakfast. And Guerreri said, Jaylen McClain's not a guy who likes breakfast food, but he would be in Guerreri's office every day at 6 a.m, eating like 2 chicken breasts and some rice for breakfast because he doesn't like breakfast food, but he's serious about putting on the weight. And so that was his breakfast, at least his first breakfast. Who knows what the second breakfast was? But that's the kind of guy that we're talking about, somebody that takes it very seriously. And he's a guy that, as a freshman, everybody talked about how well he would find the ball in practice. He just, whether it was a loose ball or tackling the ball, like, he'd be around it for whatever reason. And he's just got a little bit of an innate sense about him, I think is maybe a good way to put it, and would just be around the football and he'd find it. So, he is probably the leader in the clubhouse to replace Lathan Ransom. He's not going to be the only guy, and it's not going to be all put on him, but he's a guy that has played quite a bit for a true freshman, as much as you can expect a true freshman to play, and produced as well as you would expect a true freshman to play. It's not like he's putting up huge numbers. He doesn't have, all of the opportunity to do so. 15 tackles last year, and, his opportunities, tackle for loss and a pass broken up. But, a guy that just finds the ball, and as a strong safety, that's kind of what you're looking for. So there you go. That's how Ohio State is going to replace Lathan Ransom. You can't really just replace Lathan Ransom. This is how Ohio State's going to fill the void at strong safety. I think is a better way to play that, because Lathan Ransom is just is one of the most underrated safeties in Ohio State history, I would say, and not an easy guy to replace. But Jaylen McClain as a sophomore this year, looking like somebody that is somebody to know for sure in this Ohio State defense, because I do expect him to have a very big role. One last thing, I'll just say, keep an eye out for Fahim Delane, the true freshman. Big kid, 6'2", 6'3", really smooth, can play either safety position, and could be a guy that is maybe this year's version of Jaylen McClain, who is a backup to somebody, but can also step in as a spot starter and a guy that you start to hear about. But we'll go with Jaylen McClain right now to replace Lathan Ransom. So there you go. Would always welcome your feedback on these videos. How do you see this going? How do you see Lathan Ransom being replaced? And what kind of void do you think this leaves in the Ohio State defense? And, how much, how well can Jaylen McClain or anybody on this Ohio State defense fill that void? And, let me know in the comments. Go ahead and, if you would, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. We would appreciate that if you're watching on YouTube. And of course, you can find all of these that I've already written out. If you prefer to read, I've written out all of these at BuckeyeHuddle.com on how Ohio State's going to replace their starters. So you can find those things there. And of course, continue to find me and Tom Orr at the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.